Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to what is quite possibly one of the most important series on my channel. That is my Life and Death series. Now, right off the bat, full disclosure, I am not using just professional level examples for my Life and Deaths today, and I know I said I was going to be using them. However, the example I want to go over right now is probably never going to be found in a professional game. It was actually found in one of my games that I played on stream against a 6-dan. And I was very, very surprised that this person tried what he does against me in this game. And I was also surprised that a lot of people weren't aware of this in the chat. So I'm breaking my rules slightly to bring you a little bit of a more basic life and death problem before we go into some of the more interesting professional ones. Those of you who have already seen this particular situation come up before and you know it like the back of your hand, that's completely fine. It's just going to be a review. So in my game, I was on my Turtles account, which for those of you who haven't attended my stream before, means that it's my 6-dan account in where I try and play a little bit slower, a little bit more solid, and just try and not kill things. So he backs off into a high Chinese. I pincer very, very wide, make sure he can't keep growing this area for himself. He pincers me, which is completely normal. We just kick and go into a tighter pincer, make him uncomfortable. He tries to jump out, so we do a little bit of a pokey poke and get ourselves some shape. Now, the problem is halfway on the board already. Let's continue though. So game progresses. I do some invasion because one group gets okay, so we wind up creating a couple of them. I could create a life and death situation here. Could ask you from this position what white status is, but it's fairly straightforward and easy. Matter of liberties, he doesn't have enough, and then he dies on the right-hand side. Kind of boring. The one that I'm interested in is a bit more interesting. Eventually, after very, very, very little fighting, and mostly just lightly reducing, because being ahead on the board as white, don't really have to get into any more fights. We just had to hold what we have. So you can see that white is reinforced. The corner here, white is reinforced. The corner here. Only thing that black can really try is a 3-3 invasion. But here's the question. How do you minimize black's damage against your 3-3? That's the question. How do you minimize the damage here? Because you have to be very, very careful. Being completely surrounded makes this corner rather unique, don't you think? You don't want to give up all of this, for example, and wind up not having a base while being completely surrounded, because that means you're going to die. So how do you minimize the damage here? He seemed surprised by the answer, and so did chat. So how is the YouTube crowd going to do? Since it's a video, feel free to pause and think about this for a little bit. Go ahead, break out the board you got stored away somewhere. Maybe you haven't used it in a while. Put this position on there. Maybe not the whole board position, but you know, this little corner. Play around with it. And when you're ready, feel free to continue. So being completely greedy, I drop down. A little bit risky. We could play here. And then we would expect something like this one. Not bad. Not bad. If we go to the Guesstimator 5000, we see that this is not alive. Hello. So white is up by a fair number of points, especially if we get moves in here in endgame. More on that. Well, probably not later, actually. But definitely a possibility. But I think we could do better. So what if we do this one? Well, this one is a lot worse because that turns into almost death. Your corner's gone, literally, he's sitting on it, and that's not a very good result for here. So I dropped down instead. I said, darn it, I'm strong enough where I am. And his response was to try to live in my corner. But can he? Can he live in the corner? What do you think? Because we have options, right? I could always go here and then maybe throw in. Or I could go here for try making an eye still. If you say those are all weak and wussy, I agree. I dropped down. He pushed up. We blocked. He got poked. And sure enough, great, we connect, and he tries to live. So what do you think? This is the real problem. Can he live in here? If so, what do you think the first move is? What do you think that first move is? What do you think the first move is going to be? Tough decision. So tough. If you said the first move was to push, congratulations. Congratulations. We push, he blocks, we hane, and I expected this one, which point we'd play here, and then we'd go to ko. Like so. But it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty brutal ko. Hard to win that ko. Like you can play here and retake. That's fine. Only problem there, of course, is white can either seek to limit the damage that your next ko threat can do, which is completely possible. Let's see, that would be a threat, and what else would be a threat? I think that one would be a threat. So then you could go and play here. Still 2 space, and we just got rid of 2 ko threats. Could do. But either way, chances of actually winning this ko, a little bit slim. Now in the actual game, he played here, so you just throw into his shape point. And at that point, we can continue to reduce some liberties until he is in fact dead. We see it a lot. It comes up an awful lot. Like if you kick this because maybe they're pincered or whatever, maybe they try to approach here later, we defend specifically so we can keep this thing dead. A lot of times you'll see this one, but we can just go in here and connect back, and then this is not alive anymore. Could be ko depending on the outside situation, but locally not really alive. Unless we don't defend. Then, oh, hello, go away. Thank you. Unless we don't defend. Then when they play something like this and we try to go and kill, it turns messy because our groups are cut off. Right? Only thing we can do now really is Atari here and connect. Now if we're trying to kill, it kind of turns into like one eye versus the no eye, right? Okay, sorry, it has an eye too, just not quick enough to capture you. So yeah, interesting little corner problem. Everyone should know it. I think this is a basic corner situation. So in the interest of getting to the last problem that I also want to do, I'm going to jump right into the problem. We're trying to use all of our influence to really surround white. White tries to escape. He's getting his shape poked out. And from here, we can say definitively that he is surrounded. But how do you live in this position? It's actually more tough than you realize. Because this is one of those positions where being alive might not be good enough. I'll tell you what the answer is not. I'll tell you what the answer is not. We're not going to play here and watch as we are just surrounded and living with very, very few eyes, very, very few points, and sente for our opponent to take whatever large move his little heart desires. That's where professional life and death really gets to be a little bit tricky, let's say. He needs to be a bit more proactive than that. So if he has to be proactive, that must mean he needs to start a fight. That's my only hint for this one. Where do you think his move should be? Because if he can't get something really working here, it's a lot of points given to his opponent. And don't say that you're just going to turn around and kill this. So who cares if you're only living with 2 or 3 points? You're not going to kill it. Or you're not going to kill this here, sorry. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? The answer in part might be your first instinct. Your first instinct is probably to say, well, I don't know what to do. And that in and of itself is a hint. Because when we don't know what to do, chances are we're going to attach to something and provoke a fight. So white attaches to something to provoke a fight. Black retreats, just taking his points. White says, okay, that's fine. Connection here. Nice and solid. But then white cuts and gets into a very, very fascinating life and death position. Very, very fascinating indeed. Because if we're careful, we can kind of see what he's aiming at. He's aiming at a jailbreak. What I mean by that is if we Hane here, right? This could be an issue because we can't really hold on to this kind of capture right now. Right? Doesn't really quite work. Or we could do even this. Doesn't quite work, but it's really, really close because of these cutting points. So what we're trying to do is get enough strength to go through that large knight. So we cut. He attacks. Connects solidly. That way he's not giving the Atari and the high to his opponent. White turns, maximizes liberties. We're getting more liberties here as well. And this is where it all turns interesting. Because remember that other variation that I just showed with the cutting? We're almost where we need to be. If we try it now, we're kind of okay, right? We're kind of okay. But it will require giving up some things, right? It'll require giving up some of our stones. So we're almost there, but not quite there. So we play here first, because now if we play away, you can see, oh, hey, look at this. Not only are we threatening to kill this, but it's become that much harder to really do anything and to really do the disconnection. Because we're going to run into like liberty issues, right? So black fixes, which means these get to die. Connects on back, connects on back. White's alive. Congratulations, white. You managed to secure life in the corner. The only downside, of course, is that it's Gote. Or is it? Black decides that it's not, because he doesn't want, for example, let's say he plays elsewhere. He doesn't want to have to get into these kind of problems. As you can plainly imagine, these aren't things that we want to look at, because now this group's disconnected, and this group's in trouble too. So that cutting stone can be a real huge pain in the butt. So he captures the cutting stones to ensure that Aji isn't really there anymore. Now if we descend, we can play a different variation. Well, probably not this one. No, yeah, this one. We can play a different variation because we can't save these stones, right? Oops, go away. We can't save those stones. Which means if we're cut here, we can just defend like so. Nice, simple, and easy. But if we hadn't made this exchange, things change. Now, you might wonder why Sente is so frigging important here. Well, imagine that this was Sente for black. Like, black played here and white had to play something. Well, that means we can poke in here. That means we can poke in here and come out and keep attacking this group in the top of the board. But if white has Sente, as is the case in the actual game, white gets to double up on the attack and build the left-hand side. So Sente was really, really important here. So congratulations. White managed to live in Sente. That's fantastic. Now let's get a little bit more difficult, shall we? Let's get a little bit more difficult. And for this game, I'm not even going to show you how the game started, or how it continued, or how it got to where it wound up getting to, because that would take a lot away from the problem of what I want to ask. So here's both a very, very simple and a little bit more difficult problem as well. It really depends on your analytical skills, so you don't really know, because you don't really know how the position got to where it is. But there's some fascinating positions all over the board, wherever you look, on the right side, on the bottom side, on the left side, on the top side. Everywhere you look, there's interesting positions. And the question here is, what is white's largest move? Could that be any more vague? I don't think so. Don't think it could be any more vague. But it's an interesting one. It is very, very much an interesting question. What is white's largest move here? Could be anywhere. Could be anywhere. But it is a bit of an important question. Determines pretty much how the rest of the game is going to go. That's pretty important. So, if you said white's largest move was over in here, you may want to read that one more time. Because if you play here, chances are black's going to play over here. And if you cut, black's going to connect. And if you Atari, black's connected, you're capturing one stone that's not two eyes. So that's kind of why I like this little position. So I think a lot of you probably want to go over here and try to kill this. I think you probably want to try to kill this, but it's a little bit difficult. It's a little bit difficult to actually do that one. But for those of you who do want to kill something, you might have thought, well, what about the upper left-hand corner? And I would say congratulations to you. Largest move is actually this little group that forgot all about itself. Isn't that a shame? Isn't that a shame? Black turns. Can you get the next move? Can you get the next move? It's kind of important. Ooh, is it important? Oh, it's important, all right. It's important, all right. If you said the next move was quite simply to extend up, congratulations. That cut point is huge. It's an instant kill. So if black connects it, we can hane, and at that point, this is once again dead. And still dead. So, yep, the upper left is a flat kill. If white plays first, white got to play first, so black is in fact dead. That concludes my life and death video for today. Do tell me how you did. Were you able to get all of them correct? Were they too high level? Were they too low level? Do let me know. These are some of the more interesting life and death positions that I found occurring over the past 2 weeks. Hope you enjoyed them as well. As always, I will bring you more in the future. Until then, take care, everybody.